the pair of widely set dark brown ones she dreaded fixed on her. Between the orbs sat a crooked nose, too large for the man's round head. His bearded face stretched, flashing a yellowed smile. She screamed, but the sound came out muffled, making her yell louder. With each cry, the tape across her face strained and split the tender skin beneath. The metallic taste of blood seeped onto her tongue. Mohammed swiped a tear off her cheek and pressed his lips on her nose. "Shh. You're safe. Everything will be okay." The stench of alcohol and cigarettes mixed with sweat filled her nostrils. Her stomach turned and she tried to pull away, but couldn't. Her hands were tied behind her, and her feet were bound together. He rested his forehead against hers and blew his soured breath in her face. "I was worried you wouldn't wake up. You are okay, aren't you?" A trickle of sweat dripped down her neck. Alone, restrained, and at his mercy. She needed to get away. Allie nodded as she collected her thoughts. He grinned. "That's my good girl." His hands moved from her face to her neck and finally rested on her shoulders. Carefully, he propped her up, leaning her against the wall before caressing the back of her neck. "I'm sorry about your head. They were told not to harm you. It never should have happened." While he explained how the kidnappers had failed, she scanned the space for an escape. Other than large containers stacked against a metal wall, the room was empty. A warehouse, maybe? Somewhere in the shadows, the two men who abducted her probably stood guard. If she could get away from Mohammed, maybe she could sneak out before the others noticed. With unsteady fingers, she felt for an edge to the tape binding her wrists. "But they will be dealt with. Their actions were unacceptable." The sound of scraping metal filled the space, silencing him but making her heart pound faster against her chest. As rubber soles squeaked, Mohammed's attention turned to the visitor, and Allie worked harder at finding a seam. Tall, in a dark shirt and jeans, one of the kidnappers from her dream appeared. A contorted smile stretched across his face as he spoke to Mohammed in a language she didn't understand. A nauseating burn built deep inside her stomach, filling her chest and streaming from her eyes. Dealing with Mohammed was challenge enough, but now, having two men, the chances for survival had plummeted. Mohammed rubbed her arm and hugged her tight as he glared at the kidnapper. "I promise you will never hurt her again," he growled. The man froze in his tracks. The look of shock on his face turned to fear when Mohammed rose to his feet. Still in a three-piece suit, he approached the abductor, his voice low and angry, conversing in a foreign tongue. Soon his black dress shoes slammed into the man's thigh. Allie pushed herself into action while Mohammed yelled and pounded his foot into the attacker. Run. She had to run. Keeping her palms flat on the ground, she raised her hips, threading her legs through the restrained wrists. With her hands in front, she searched for an edge to the thick tape wrapped around her ankles. An explosion rang through the warehouse, piercing her eardrums. Allie closed her eyes, covered her head with her arms, and curled in a ball, bracing herself for more. A heavy weight thudded nearby. With every gasp of air she took, the smell of smoke and gunpowder burned her nose and throat. When she opened her eyes and lifted her head, it was to gaze at the kidnapper's lifeless body. Allie's muffled sobs filled the silence, making it hard to breathe. Mohammed squatted beside her and dropped his gun a few feet away. He planted a hand on her thigh and squeezed while he tried to catch his breath. His grip tightened when she shrunk away from his touch. "Problem solved. You are now safe," he wheezed. "Like you said in our sessions, sometimes people in our lives disappoint us. It is how we deal with the disappointment that matters." He smiled and waved at the dead man.